Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com, and I'm here with Doug and Tova, who have worked on a number of Disney shows and films over the years, including Sneakerella and most recently on High School Musical, the series. I'm going to start off with that one. Really, is you've just won a Children's Emmy for your work on Finally Free. One of my favorite songs from the show. How did it feel winning that award?
Oh man, it was extremely nerve-wracking leading up to it. It's actually funny because when you get there to the ceremony, you get a program, and because you don't know what order anything's going in. You don't know if you're going to be at the beginning of the night. You don't know if you're going to be at the end of the night. And we're like, oh, okay. We're somewhere towards the beginning. So my personal anticipatory anxiety won't eat away at me the entire night, wondering if we won. And finally, it's getting closer and closer and closer, and we're one category away. And we're like, here we go, we're next. And then it's like, all right, everyone, we're going to break for a half hour for dinner. So
yeah, that was literally the timing.
Yeah, that was perfect timing. But no, when they called our song for the win, it was amazing. I mean, it's as amazing as you can imagine. I mean, we won an Emmy, and it was our first one as a team. That we won. So it was fantastic. It was amazing.
And it's funny because afterwards someone was like, was your heart racing? Were you? And I was like, I was in this cloud. I was like, they're like, finally free. And I'm like, oh, now we will walk over here. And now we will walk over. Okay, now we're here. Now we're walking through the hotel kitchen afterwards. Like, it felt like I was in like a feather bed, but inside of one. It was just strange and fun and beautiful. And Josh was there. So we all kind of experienced that at the exact same moment. And yeah, it was a great night. I highly recommend. Yes,
I highly recommend winning an Emmy. That's what
do it. It was a lovely experience.
And what was it like working with Joshua on the song?
It was great. It was in like, I never know what part of the pandemic we're really considered being in, because it's still kind of there and not. But this was
no longer.
We're no longer in the height. I don't know. It was the height at the time. So we got together here at our studio, but no one wanted to be close to each other because we were all petrified. So we sat in our backyard, like 10 feet away from each other.
And we had obviously worked with Josh before as far as tracking him, and he sang on our songs and so forth.
But we never wrote with him before.
We never wrote with him. And I think before, up till this song, we had worked primarily on cast numbers with him. So it's like a bunch of people come in, they all record their parts. But this was the first time we were like one-on-one, alone with Josh in the backyard for the purpose of writing. And it was great. It was very just chill and comfortable. And it was just kind of like, good sessions are kind of like you're just hanging out.
Yeah, majority of the session was us just talking about life and
struggles and
nothing and everything at the same time. And then the song itself was written fairly quickly. I think maybe like an hour or something. I mean, it came out really easily. Whenever we go into a writing session, unless we're working one-on-one, if we're working with someone outside of our little bubble, we like to bring just some sort of idea to get the ball rolling. So we had a little bit of an idea kind of put together, and Josh had kind of come with a little bit of an idea put together. And this happens
rarely,
very rarely.
We're not saying this happens all the time.
When the two people who bring their both ideas work really well, and then it's like, whoa, we have a giant chunk of the song done before we even really sat down to write it, and we just needed to connect the dots, and which was very easy to do because Josh is also a great writer and has great melody and a great ear. So it was awesome. And we kind of knew we had something really kind of special walking out of that session, just because it felt really good. We were really excited about it. And yeah, this Emmy win was just kind of justification that we did something right. So.
And obviously, like looking at your career of how many like songs and stuff you've worked on, you've worked with quite a lot of like former Disney Channel stars. How do you kind of go about like making sure that the songs kind of match their voice and their like personalities and stuff?
I've been starting off all of them, so you want to?
No, you go ahead. I'll follow you. Go ahead.
Well, before we jump into writing a song, I mean, we get a brief from like the directors and the producers that kind of break down the scene and break down, I guess, the emotional journey that this character is going through. So we have time to study, and we'll look, obviously, if we haven't worked for them before, we'll see, what do they have on Spotify? Do they have any music out? Are they an artist, aside from just being on the show? Some of them are artists, like, Sophia as well as obviously Olivia. And some of them haven't really broken out into that yet, but there's usually a good amount of information and references. Sometimes there's not that much at all, and we just kind of have to play the guessing game. But also with these shows, they kind of just want really great songs. And the thing about the whole team, they're really good at also helping place the actor in a scene that works for them. Like they're not going to come to us with references that just don't feel like they fit the character as well as the artist, because you have to find the middle ground too. It's like they're also playing a character in this show that might sound totally different from their personal musical taste, which is something that has happened many times before.
Yeah.
We've worked with people for example, like for zombies and stuff, for Disney zombies, where they are artists outside of the zombies world that is very different from the songs that they're singing in zombies. So it really tends to lend to, I think, the character more so the actor's artistic taste, because it needs to sit in that world of that show.
But if you're talking about actual artist projects with actors, that's a whole different thing, because what normally happens, even going back to when Doug and I both used to work with primarily like pop artists for years, normally when you get in a room with an artist, you have like, here's what they love, here's what they want to be, here's what they're really good at, and your job is to kind of find that beautiful place in the Venn diagram where everything is kind of touched upon. And I think when you're working, at least for us, when we've worked just on music for people who we've also written for shows, by then we kind of know their range, we kind of know their voice, we kind of sit a little bit deeper with what kind of influences they want to like express on their own project. But like Doug said, it's a lot of research. You very rarely are suddenly in a room with someone or writing for someone and you don't know those things, because it will save your life if you know them before you start.
That's good. And obviously, like, as a whole, High School Musical series has come to an end now. Is there any other? I know it's like kind of quite a surprise that one came to an end. But you also worked on Sneakerella, which has come out since last time we spoke. What was your feeling like when that film came out and the reaction to the film?
I thought the movie was so good. I actually, this is a terrible thing to say, I don't really know the reaction to the film outside of like what people who were fans of it have come and told us. But very often, and this happened with Sneakerella, like we do a portion of it, other songwriters do a portion of it. So you don't really, you read the script in advance, so you know where it's going, but you suddenly see it all come together. You see all the musical moments. And I actually thought it was great. I thought they did a fantastic job. I thought the cast was really strong. I thought the songs were really good throughout. So the people who've come up to us, that was very nice, because they felt that way too. But I don't know critical reception. To be perfectly honest.
I think it did fairly well. Actually, I don't think it got as much attention as I think it should have, honestly.
Well, it's a weird time with, again, the pandemic and releases. But
I remember when we watched, we're like, this is actually really, because we don't get to see anything until it's done.
Yeah.
We don't know much of the script beyond the scenes that we're kind of given to write.
I think we did get the script.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then I completely take that back.
Often we don't.
Often we don't. But this time, you're right. Maybe we did. But, it was great. It really was. And again, it's not always, there's a lot of different teams, obviously, especially like directors, producers and stuff. But there is a lot of familiar people like this one person, Steve Vincent, who brings us into a lot of these things. I mean, it's always, whenever we get a call from Steve, it's like, okay, whatever we're doing, we're stopping.
Say yes.
And we say yes, because Steve is great.
From Disney.
Yeah, he's been on High School Musical, Sneakerella, Zombies franchise, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's always a pleasure working with them, and a lot of our friends too that write.
That's
the
what's
songs
funny
too,
because there's this whole like songwriting community of people who work on these projects, and a lot of them are our friends. So like, for example, for the Emmy nom that we just had, literally 2 of the teams were very close friends of ours. So we all walk in, they're like, okay, here we go. Like, hopefully one of us gets it. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that kind of familiarity and camaraderie with the people that you're working with, because like Doug said, we get a project, you have a cast, you fall in love with the cast, you love everything, and then you kind of move on to the next thing. So having people who make that journey with you is always fun.
Yeah, it's always that nice thing as well, having that like continuity and things.
Yeah.
And sort of kind of speaking of a bit of continuity, obviously you've worked on a number of Disney projects in the past. Is there any Disney projects that you're working on that you can tell us about, obviously, in the future?
I don't think we can mention the one now. We shouldn't. No, I don't know. It hasn't been announced.
No, guess what?
Do not say it. There is a Disney project that people will be very excited about.
Yes, and it's I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not going to say it's. No, I'm just kidding. I just pushed Tova out of it. I will say people will definitely be excited. It's really good. It's really, really good. Like we were curious how it was going to kind of play out, because we're doing it. It's going to be a series. We can say that it's going to be a series.
Oh, I was thinking of something else.
Oh, what were you thinking?
I can't say what I was thinking.
I want to know. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, we'll talk about it later. I'm talking about the movie.
What?
Ooh.
I don't.
Okay, we'll talk about this.
I need to know what this is now. I'm kind of
You totally know what this is. This is so funny. Okay, go on.
Can we talk about the series?
I don't know. I think
we
so.
should probably find out if we can talk about
I think you can talk about the series because the shorts.
Yeah, the shorts have already been out.
Yes, so that's fine.
Okay, so you say it just so I don't get in trouble.
You don't. Aren't we fun to interview?
We're so much fun. We don't know what to say.
I think what Doug is discussing is Zombies Reanimated.
Oh yes, Zombies Reanimated. I think that's just about to come out soon, or is that something?
That's not what I had in mind.
So
I had in mind
something else. I have no idea.
Yes, you do, because we already started talking about it. But never mind. Yes,
so that's good. I mean, it's nice to know that we got more content coming from
so many
more Disney content.
Yes, the Reanimated series. We're doing a lot of songs for it.
We did some for the shorts, and then we worked with the show as well.
Right. It's us and two other of our friends that are doing a few. We're all kind of sharing it. But the Reanimated series, it's really good. It's really good.
Like very good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go over really, really well. And I think it comes out summer. I think they have summer 2024. I don't know, sometime this year.
The writing is fantastic.
Yeah, and the team is so good.
It's not like, it's something that obviously the younger crowd will enjoy, but that like as an adult, it's really funny to read. It reads as a really solid comedy, and the songs are. And I'm not just saying that because we're on it, because obviously other people are on it as well. But yeah, it's solid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing as well. Like, I think with Zombies, and I think going into animation is a good way of kind of extending that series. And obviously they're about to they're filming a fourth film as well right now. Yeah. But when you and this kind of goes back to this, how did you kind of get involved in writing for like films and shows in the first place?
I'm so glad you asked, because that is our story. Well, the nutshell version is Doug and I were both separately on a similar trajectory, which was like, you start off as artists and you have bands, and Doug toured and did all the things. And then you kind of end up writing for other people, and you kind of fall into that, and you write a bunch of projects. And we were very involved for years in writing for pop artists and rock artists and R&B and just essentially you do this songwriting circuit where you say yes, yes, yes. And you work with all these artists. And one day separately, we just had this conversation where we were both a little burnt out of writing the same song over and over and over and over and over. And we had just gotten a brief from Marvel. You got that, right?
Yeah.
And then Doug calls me, and I'm in the car, and he's like, "Hey, I have this thing from Marvel. Do you want to work on it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Do you have any title ideas?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think Born Ready," and la. And we ended up writing it, and we ended up getting it. And we had so much fun doing that. And that kind of bled into us writing more for that team and writing a song for every episode for that thing. And that was so exciting because we were working with writers, and it was different. It felt very different. Musically, we had a much larger palette to select from. Every song was not the same. And that's kind of around the time we started realizing we want to really kind of refocus our career very intentionally and start working for TV and film and also theater, which is the next step. Did I miss anything?
No, that was the nutshell version.
Yeah, that's the very nutshell version.
You hit all the points.
Yeah, and then honestly, just to add a little universal cosmic fairy dust, when we did that, everything started snowballing. Like, we got this, we got that. That's literally, it was weird. It was like, okay, you work for years for a goal, and then you do this, and then everything just kind of opens. So follow your heart.
That's always the best way of going.
It's really true.
And also, like, in general, like, how do you've briefly mentioned on earlier, like, approach creating? So if you've been given, obviously a job to do a particular thing, how do you go about approaching creating that music and coming up with that sound?
It's different for every project. I mean, listen, our process is usually very familiar each time. I mean, the projects will be different, but our process of just approaching a song is basically just, it's kind of ridiculous. We sit down and we just make random noises and hit random notes. I mean, that's really, when you come down to songwriting, it's
very weird.
It's weird, and it's simplistic and extremely complicated and everything in between, because you're looking for something that grabs you. And that kind of comes, of course, you want to have a plan. You want to know what we want to say in that song. It's very important. But before we do that, at least our approach is like, well, we need something that feels, we need a melody, whether piano, guitar, or, any other instrument you can think of that lures you in. That's like, oh, this sounds good. And then we need a melody that sounds good. And then we'll kind of start fitting lyrics in through the sounds that we're just kind of making, like weird vowel sounds that are like faux lyrics that kind of sound like words.
Ridiculous.
It's weird. If, for anyone that's never written a song in a room with people before and they kind of sit in,
weird.
It's kind of like you've just placed someone on a very loud animal farm of just things making noises until you kind of find something. But yeah, I mean, it's really just finding something that catches you, that lines up with the scene you're writing for and lines up with what just feels like you want to explore that more. I want to hear more of that. And then you kind of let the two run in tandem all over the place until it kind of comes together.
That's the songwriting. But as far as like the production and the musicality of it, for TV and film, what usually happens is you get a list. They're like, here are sonic references. And it's very interesting because more often than not, they are songs that sound nothing alike. So your average bear will be like, what's happening? Because these songs do not sound alike. But they might be like, we love how this person approached the storytelling, but we love how this kicks in on the bridge. And we love the music. So they kind of give you pieces. And then your job is to, again, find something in the Venn diagram that does not sound like any of the things, but has little pieces of each thing. So that's where Doug is beautiful and shining, among other things. But he's very good. He's very good at that.
That's cool. Yeah. And our final question, really, and this one's kind of a broad, open one, is if you could work on any Disney project, and obviously you've worked on a few, what would you both like to work on in the future?
If we could work on any Disney project.
I think we know the answer to that one, right?
Well, I don't know. We were thinking this different things last time. So
I know.
So you want to whisper it to me?
Okay.
Yeah. We may have even said that last
time. We probably did. What are you thinking?
No, that would probably be it. Yeah.
We've always had in our hearts, and I actually don't know if we even talked about this. Has been a while. This is like a long.
Yeah, we may have
dream.
said this last time.
This is a long dream.
So we're sorry
of Doug and Tova. Is the backstory of Ursula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want that to happen.
We want that to happen.
But we want to be the ones to do it.
We want to be the ones to do it. We have a really cool idea. We have some stuff we've been playing with. So maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. But yeah, that's Ursula, I think, is possibly one of my favorite characters. Yeah, she's in like the top 2 or 3. So she deserves a backstory.
Yeah, I mean, right, obviously, like recently last summer we had the Little Mermaid film, and the one that they did in there, that was just so good. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was with Melissa singing it, and it was fantastic. I was like, is she going to be able to nail it? And it's one of the best ones out of it. But yes, Little Mermaid is always a nice, and it is pretty big and epic. So hopefully, maybe
it's
in the future.
Big, epic. It's a dream. You have to dream.
And they've had Cruella, so
Cruella was so good. Yeah. I thought Cruella was so good. I loved it.
They did a really good job.
Yeah.
It's also it was a really kind of interesting way of doing a prequel, but a little bit different. But
yes.
Again, thank you so much for taking time out today. And obviously you can find Sneakerella and High School Musical, the series, and Zombies 2 all on at Disney Plus right now. But again, thank you so much for taking your time out to speak to us today.
Good to see you again. Happy New Year.
Thank you. And you.